Are you a fan of the new grass starter Sprigatito coming in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet? Well, today I'm going to be discussing my predictions on what I think this Pokemon will have stat line and its final evolution, as well as the abilities I think it's going to have for its hidden ability. So if you guys enjoy this type of content and want to see it for the other starters, leave a like below and subscribe for more. If we get 15 likes, 15 right here, then I'll cover the fire starter Fuecoco this Wednesday. So make sure you guys leave a like below if you want to see that. With that said though, let's talk about Sprigatito and my predictions for this Pokemon's evolution. So I want to really quickly establish the way that I've decided what I'm going to be doing stat line for this Pokemon. So I have, under the contingency, this Pokemon will be a physical attacker, and this is mostly because of recent trends for grass starters. Ever since Torterra, we've only had one grass starter out of 5 that did not actually lean on the physical end, and that was Superior actually is the exception to that, and it has equal offenses for both. The second contingency is that I think this Pokemon will have all the starters in general will have a trio that the secondary typing is super effective for the type that the primary is weak to. So what do I mean by this? I think that the secondary typing for Sprigatito, whatever one it is, will at least be neutral, if not super effective, to the fire starter in some way, shape, or form. Whether this ends up being super effective to the secondary type, but maybe neutral as a whole because the fire typing adds something defensively, or in general, just some way, shape, or form, the secondary typing would affect the primary of the fire super effective for the Sprigatito evolution line, or at least hinder it in some way, shape, or form, even if not a super effective sort of ordeal. So with that said, let's get into our first stat line that I have prepared. This is for the dark type path I think this starter could potentially take, and this would be a grass dark type with strong jaw as the hidden ability. This path would have 75 HP, 105 attack, 90 defense, 65 special attack, 80 special defense, and 115 speed. And I think this would be a more aggressive type, basically following the trend for Zarude, but with a more starter-based stat line, and a lot less bulk to compound that. With that said, this is mostly just because of the fact that I felt like with the dark typing, Crunch would obviously be a stab for this, and also Strong Jaw boosted, and I feel like that could be pretty good. They can maybe make the signature move a grass type Fang, which we did at the very least see the addition of a new Fang last generation, and also the generation before actually with Psychic Fangs. So I don't think this is too out of the question. Maybe they can make a grass type Fang finally. Like Wood Fang or something like Jungle Fang would work too. So I think this could totally work. As of right now though, I figure this could be a really good Glass Cannon type build because Dark Grass isn't exactly the best defensive typing, though it weirdly works for Zarude. I don't think this is a generally good defensive typing overall, so I didn't want to make it more bulkier build, and I do have a couple more bulkier builds for this evolution that are planned out for the other two types that I think it could be. But with Sprigatito's Grass Dark evolution line, I figured this could be a pretty good physical attacker that could just be a really good breaker. 115 speed as well would be something we haven't really seen for a fast grass starter since Superior. So I think I could actually be pretty cool for that overall because grass has been leaning a bit more slow in terms of recent builds. So overall, I think this could be a pretty interesting stat line for the starter to take. Ultimately though, I think this is probably my least favorite of the three, but I think it could be an interesting one nonetheless. Next up though, we have the Grass Steel type build, which I think will have either Rough Skin or Stakeout for the hidden ability, and I'll get into that in a bit. With the stat line being 90 HP, 120 attack, 110 Fizz Def, 70 special attack, 65 Speed Def, and 75 speed. This definitely leans into the more Fizz Def tank end, and I think this could have a couple of really good abilities. Rough Skin can maybe be the hidden ability for a more defensive build for this Pokemon. The reason I'm thinking Rough Skin is because the fact it is a Steel Grass type, and I think they can maybe make this like, a Thorn sort of build similar to Ferrothorn, which I think could weirdly work considering the fact that whether they make it just a more iron sort of fur type build, or just in general actual spikes, I think it could work considering this is Jungle Cat, so it's more of a hunting, and this could maybe help it, with things that might try and pounce at it. With the fact this will probably be sort of Saber-Tooth Tiger in my opinion, that's what I'm thinking it will be, and that is, as I said, it's Jungle Cat. I think a Stakeout could also work because it would obviously be, trying to hunt its prey, and anything that tried to run away from it, it could easily try and attack back. So I think a Stakeout could also be a very interesting ability for this Pokemon, giving it a true, really threatening way to actually hit Pokemon that would switch and punish them directly. With this build, obviously, it would be a bit more slow, but typically Steel types aren't exactly fast. You see a few options for that, to be fair, but typically they lean on the bulkier end, and I think that would definitely help with Grass overall, because Grass is also typically a bulkier type, albeit both have some fast options, but neither typically lean that way. With the Fizz Def as well, this would help a lot with options, for example, Ground, which is now neutral to, at least trying to help take that on a bit better. On top of it as well, Grass in general, being a more physical type, sadly does hurt a bit, because this would obviously be a bit more susceptible to Scald. But Pokemon in general aren't exactly against making signature moves, potentially on starters. For example, we could obviously maybe throw Jungle Healing against Pokemon, and it would fit rather well considering this is, again, probably going to be a Jungle Cat. So I think giving it Jungle Healing could actually help a lot, and just like Zarude, it would help make it a much more viable physical attacker. So I personally am looking forward to what they could potentially do with this Pokemon. I think a Steel type as well would help a lot with potentially making Fire Fairy the next type, considering obviously Steel would be a resistance to that, and also on top of that, while Fire would be 4 times super effective against this, at least Steel would be a neutral way to hit Fire Fairy, and it would at least be a switch into one of the types if nothing else. So I think that could be a way that go with this. Also, Fire Dragon would be another one, because again, while this would be 4 times weak to Fire, this would at the very least be a switch into the Dragon sort of stabs. So I think it could work at least with that in mind, though obviously this would be clearly weaker to Fire than either Grass or Steel would be for the Fuecoco final evolution. So I just wanted to establish that because that's why I think the Steel typing could be a thing on this Pokemon. But I do have one more typing to go into, and I think this is personally where I actually am leaning my favorite towards, being the Rock Grass Sprigatito Evo, which would be Intimidate or Reckless for the abilities. I think that Intimidate could be really good because obviously this would help it a bit more defensively, because I did take a bit out of bulk for this build compared to the Steel type, but I left it with a similar sort of idea for this. I think with Intimidate, this could actually buff it a lot more defensively, arguably. At least on switching. This would be 85 HP, 110 attack, 110 Phys Def, 80 special attack, 70 Spidef, and 85 speed. This would make for also a lot better of a Scarf sort of build. So with an 85 base speed, it would actually also outpace base 150 Pokemon. I can really only think of Megas for this example, sadly, but the speed tier in general, it's more so just to show how good it is. Even if we take non-Megas into account, this would outpace with the Scarf Pokemon such as Dragapult and Zeraora. So even just common OU threats in the Sword and Shield metagame right now, it would at least be prepared for Pokemon that would be around that sort of speed tier. With the other hidden ability that I have, Reckless, this would be actually phenomenal on this offensively, and this is personally the ability I'm actually hoping for the most should we get a Grass Rock typing. This is a bit of a pipe dream to be fair, but if they give this Pokemon Head Smash and Woodhammer I think is a lot less of a pipe dream, but to be fair, I guess with the specific sort of Pokemon I'm anticipating, being a Jungle Cat, it's a bit less likely, but I think a Head Smash at least would be pretty likely if they were to go that route. This would obviously have at least one of the two in my opinion, if not both, to take advantage of. And that would make it a phenomenal physical breaker, actually, especially with a Choice Scarf. This would be a Pokemon that would be a true nuisance to switch around, though even just having one of these options would be amazing. Grass Rock as well, I think, would be a build that actually could maybe get U-turn. Dark, maybe. I don't think the Steel version would, though, to be fair. I think I would be sort of left with a lot less momentum. But to be fair, the abilities in that also lean a lot less towards a more offensive build, and they lean more towards a general, just jack-of-all-trades sort of style. So I think in terms of what I'm hoping for, stat-wise, I'm kind of hoping that we get the Grass Rock build personally. I think that truthfully with the Grass Rock sort of style, this would actually end up being a really phenomenal offensive Pokemon. Grass Rock as well actually helps a lot offensively. For example, the Rock typing would arguably help the most offensively with taking out stuff like Fires and Flyings for Grass, which is incredible for it. And not only that, but Grass would be great against Water and Ground types, which Rock would also struggle with. So in terms of an offensive Pokemon, this would actually be a phenomenal build for it, without being too necessarily overpowered. Because starters, obviously, in case you weren't doing the math earlier, which is fine if you weren't, I didn't have it on screen, but all these builds have 530 for the stat total, which is pretty average actually among the Grass stat line. They all range from 525 to 530 for BSTs. So this would fall in line with a lot of the typical Grass starter base stat totals. And I think that that would ultimately help, again, with making sure that we're not planning a too overpowered Pokemon. And I think that with the Grass Rock build, this could probably sit pretty in a UU sort of tier, even for limited decks. Maybe not decks in RU sort of build, to be fair. Grass Dark, I think, would probably be, again, UU to RU in general, but leaning more towards the RU for that one, just because the typing's a little bit worse. The Grass Steel one, I think, could also probably be a cool RU build, but I think that Grass Rock ultimately would be the best, especially if they gave it even 85 speed, with as long as it had a good hidden ability, that could truthfully be a phenomenally offensive Pokemon. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below and what you guys are anticipating with this Pokemon. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe for more. Shout out to our channel members. As of the time of recording this video, they are Zeke0, Josh aka Ultra Player, Mia, Randy Chappa, Rika Hashizora, and Pokemon fan Magistic Xerneas. Your guys' support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to join the channel members, obviously join down below. The link is in the description. If you guys enjoyed, again, leave a like and subscribe, and we will see you guys in tomorrow's video, which will be some more Road to Ranked. Until then, peace out, guys.